high seas, singing to the breeze. Multiple shows and nightly, a Caribbean cruising dream. La 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 la.
Welcome back to From the Music Store. I'm Jason.
I'm Jeremy.
And hey, I've got some facts. Hear it? I've got facts.
Hot off the presses.
Hot off the press. I've got some facts about cruise ships and the cruising industry. Do you know how many cruise ships there are, like floating around at any given time?
Any given time?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll say 2,000.
Oh, that's a lot. No,
Okay, then I'll say 1,000.
No, that's still a lot.
I'm going to say 20.
It's more than that.
Okay.
It's 320.
Okay.
There are around 320 total cruise ships in the world, which are part of 50 cruise lines. That's still a lot when you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot. There are probably about, on average, going for 30 some odd million people that are toting around on these things.
Yeah, at the smallest, I have been on a number of them. So at the smallest, I think we've got with crew, you're looking at maybe 2,000 people. So, and on the large ones that I've been on, you're looking at close to 5,000 people.
And you're kind of letting the cat out of the bag about what the story is today, or what the show is, because you said, I've been on them.
I've been on one or two.
Yeah. Were you, in what capacity were you on the aforementioned cruise ships?
I was a guest entertainer.
Guest entertainer!
That's right.
Okay. Well, some of the other, this is our facts, are showing that some of the other famous guest entertainers or performers on cruise ships were. Some of these I think are pretty interesting. Now, within the cruise ship industry, there's now these cruise weeks, right, where they'll be
the Blues Cruise is huge.
Yeah, Blues
Cruise. They have a 50s cruise. Yeah, they're all getting real big, yeah.
There's one, I think, with Foreigner and Styx and the whole later 70s rock thing, right?
Yep, they're getting real big.
Which is pretty cool, Apparently, Taylor Swift, Michael Bolton, Rihanna, Billy Ocean, that's given, right?
Sure.
And Hall & Oates. Did you know that Hall & Oates perform? Now,
that'd be a cruise ship I would like to go on.
Yeah. Now, maybe they
Oates.
were part of the Hall & Oates. I could see Hall & Oates doing
I wonder if they treat it like a Daryl's House situation.
Oh, but Daryl's boat.
Daryl's boat.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about what all these people in these cruise ships do, because if you're going to get that many people and put them in a floating hotel, they have to be entertained, don't they? So that being said, since this is in your wheelhouse, get it? I will let you introduce our guest, who happens to be here in the music store.
That's right. He's actually in the music store with us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to introduce him like I do when I introduce him when we're on stage.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, sporting a lovely pair of thick black frame glasses, he's your buddy and mine. In store today, we have Mr. Todd Meredith.
How's everyone doing out there in internet world?
Radio land, internet. Well, so frame that intro in as to what the act is that you guys do.
So, Todd Meredith and myself have been involved in a tribute band for a good number of years, and Todd plays not only has he played the role many times in regional theater productions, but he is, in our tribute band as well, the role of Mr. Buddy Holly.
Wow. All right.
That's where the
50s rock and roll star Buddy Holly, that's right.
Would you say that is that's your gig, since you did Buddy Holly in a touring performance, right? Is that true?
Yeah, we both did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ty was the guy.
And then, so you were the star of what exactly was the title of?
It's called the Buddy Holly Story Musical. Buddy, the Buddy Holly Story, I guess, technically.
It's not a parenthetical.
It's not parenthetical. We're good with our grammatical inclusions in this show. We are grammatically inclusive. Would you say then that you own the Buddy character, and then you guys then did a offshoot tribute from doing that tour?
Yeah,
Is that
so
how that came
I
about?
met Jeremy in Reno, Nevada.
All right.
Oof, what a town that was.
It's the biggest little city.
The biggest little city in the U.S. of A. I met him there. We performed at the El Dorado casino showroom there. And it was like 3 months. We were there for, it was long. We were there for a while.
How much, when you closed the show in Reno, how much of your actual earnings did you leave town with?
Oh, I didn't do much gambling there.
Oh, really? See, I would have left dead broke. I would have been dead broke. Like last place on earth I could do an extended gig would be anywhere where there's a casino.
Yeah, a lot of
I think
people
that'd be bad for me.
did the slot thing. I don't like slots. I did play a little bit of poker, but I wasn't as into poker then as I am now. So luckily, if I was as into poker as I am,
I thought it was always your thing. I didn't realize that.
I was still a little nervous to do it, to like bet big money on it. Yeah.
You guys started the band and then ended up performing on cruise ships, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about music and entertainment on a cruise ship and what that life is like. I mean, most people I think can envision, okay, I'm locked in a hotel room in Reno for 3 months on a total binge or whatever. They can kind of put their head in there and, like being in a hotel. But what's it like to be in the cruise ship doing daily performances? How are you living? Get us a taste of what that's like.
Well, there are bands on the ship that are performing every night, but we were kind of lucky in the sense that as guest entertainers, we'd really only perform once or twice the entire cruise. So like we'd be on for a week, sometimes even 2 weeks, and we'd only go on stage maybe 2 nights out of that entire time that we're there.
Did you ever get scornful looks from the lobby bar jazz band because they're like, man, we're doing this 3 hours a night every night, and these guys get to hang out and do one show? Are you considered the prima donna on the boat? Is there a different class of working musician on the ship? I mean, because there must be nonstop. These things are big, right? There must be nonstop activity or events, I would imagine.
There's on certain ships there definitely was some animosity towards the guest entertainers from the crew bands and whatnot. For the most part, they were all super nice. We'd end up hanging with them. At that time, we were allowed to all go into this private bar that was just for the crew and for the guest entertainers. And unfortunately, at this point, ever since COVID, we're not even allowed to be in there anymore, so we have to stick to where the guests are. But yeah, for the most part, we would have a pretty good time chilling with it. The wide range of you'd get guys who are just out of college who are just cutting their teeth on their instruments and really just trying to come into their own, and then you get guys who'd been doing it for forever who are in their 60s and are like, all right, this is the gig I want to do now. I want to go see the world. This is the way I'm going to do it. So
you would do performances within a theater environment. So this is sort of there's a big theater. They heard a bunch of people in there. Were you ever doing smaller performances around the boat, or were there the ship, right? I think there's some terminology people take very seriously. I want to make sure.
Yeah, you can't call it a boat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a ship.
It's a ship. Is music and entertainment spread around in all different places, or is it okay, no, there's a theater, and that's in Monday night you've got the comedian, Tuesday night you've got the acrobats, Wednesday night you've got the tribute band?
No, they try to give you as much variety as possible each night. So these other bands are playing every night. And the other guest entertainers, yeah, you'll probably get a magician, you'll probably get a comedian, and you always get a powerhouse female vocalist or a crooner or something like that. And then you usually have a really impressive instrumentalist who's great at violin, or a multi-instrumentalist who could play a ton of different things and has kind of a variety show. So usually that's kind of the lineup you get. And then along with that, you get at all the satellite venues, you can get to see probably a classical duo, or you get to see a guy on acoustic guitar, a girl on acoustic guitar, an acoustic duo there usually is, and that's going on every night. So if you come, you kind of decide which performers you like, and then you follow them around the ship.
If you had to guess, how many musicians are on a standard size cruise ship?
Probably
30 to 40.
30 to 40 musicians.
Sometimes I think on the Norwegian ship that we did, there were probably even a few more than that, because sometimes they have people who only do a specific show, and they only do that show, and then it's kind of it's done in the main theater in between different guest entertainer performances. So they have a show that they'll do. Maybe they'll feature a Broadway musical in an abridged version, and they have those musicians who only play that. But then you have the house band who's supposed to back up any guest entertainer who comes on and doesn't have a pre-recorded canned music. And those guys only ever play behind the guest entertainers, or they tell them to go play various places in the ship. Then you'll have a dance band that only plays in the atrium, and they only do happy party music in the atrium and maybe the dance club. Then you have the jazz guys, and then you have... So sometimes there could be quite a few.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions. The first one is, let's get straight on the terminology. Guest entertainer. Are you a entertainer of guests, or are you a guest who entertains? What's the terminology?
I think the definition could be twofold.
Yeah.
I think it can mean both things.
Yeah. I mean, the way I always understood it was you are an entertainer who has guest status, meaning you're not crew, where some people are legitimate crew in the capacity that they have a job to perform. On a day where we're going out to any one of the ports, they're like, oh, I can't. I have to stay back today. It's my day to stay on the ship all day. And for whatever reason that is. Or in the event of an emergency, my direction is to go to the stairwell and do this, that, and the other thing. We never had that.
So you're not putting people in lifeboats. You're not
No, they don't trust us with any of that. They have trained people.
So you
other
get-
musicians have been trained to do this.
Yeah.
They
So
don't.
zero safety responsibility.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
You're not coming out on stage with like the belt buckle and showing people how to put the life vest on. None of that.
No.
Okay, I feel kind of reassured to hear that for some reason. So there are like a lot more musicians than I would think. So are you classified different, or are you living in the same part of the ship? Are you in the same quarters? Do you have the same, or are you like, no, I'm the guest entertainer. I only dine on the aft deck at 4.
No, it completely depends on the ship and the
We
line.
need a quote from like Thurston Howe from like you were talking about Gilligan's Island.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we got to pull up some good
Love
quotes
it.
there.
Yes. But we've run the gamut. Like I've been in a room that I'd never thought it'd be like a shoebox, and the bathroom was just kind of a toilet and a shower, like all in one. Like, but you couldn't really move once you got in there. We called it a shoilet.
Shoilet.
I mean, we gotten lucky to be in guest cabins where we had a balcony and it was
So sometimes you're
fairly
totally
spacious.
pimped out, right? Okay.
It depends on if the ship is oversold or not, or.
Does the jazz band that plays the cocktail lounge, do they get those kind of or is there a whole different shebang for those
if
guys?
you are a crew, you have a crew room. And
So those guys are considered quote unquote crew, and they do have to like put people in lifeboats and stuff. Even though they're the guitar player in the lounge band, you still have to do that.
Yeah, they might get assigned a much simpler job, but they have something to do in the event of an emergency, and they have to do drills, so they might get called to do a drill, and then they have to go stop what they're doing, and they belong to.
I
some
literally
kind
have
of
to put
code.
my guitar down. Oh, we're just doing the fire alarm drill. I put down my guitar.
I think if there's a drill, I think the person who schedules it has the wherewithal to be like, oh, we don't do the drill with these people because we have them playing poolside, and that would be awkward for them to get up and leave. So, but as far as the rooms go, there would be crew rooms that were for guest entertainers, and they would be okay, and we would be up there with some of the higher members, maybe some officers, or maybe the cruise director or the assistant cruise director might have a room similar to what we have if we're closed off from guest quarters. But the people who do work on the ship daily, and maybe they're just a lowly musician, they're bunking up, and sometimes it's a small room.
Is there a difference in pay in that? In other words, if you're a guest entertainer, are you sort of like treated like a celebrity? So you get, without getting into details, you get a different pay grade. And then again, does that make the house band like really not like you, because you not only do you get a better room and a balcony, but you get paid more and you don't have to wear the life preserver?
I honestly don't know what the other musicians make. I assume we probably make a little bit more. I do remember a specific time when one of them came right up to me and asked me what we make, and that was a little awkward.
He's like, "Yo, Todd."
I'd never even met the guy before.
Oh, that's the first thing out of his mouth. How much money are you making?
That was how he let it off. I was like, man, that's not.
I think that's the first
my friend.
chapter in how to make friends and influence people. Is where you should have at least been like, yeah, this is a low one. We're making 100 G's on this one.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, I wish I was quick enough to be like, oh yeah, just like 25 grand for this one, nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Then he would have jumped off the balcony. My life is meaningless. All right, cool.
But no, a lot of those musicians, that's their goal is to. A lot of them have their own shows that they're creating, and their hope is to become guest entertainers, because it is a bit of a level up.
Do you ever have self-esteem issues where if you were doing a show and you're only doing 2 shows on the particular cruise and the venue's like maybe half empty, are you like...
There'll be people who will show up, go right in the front row, watch for like 10 minutes and decide, okay, this isn't for me, and they'll just walk out, and then you have to like... be like, okay, don't let this distract you. Stay in it. Don't let this one person leaving like affect your performance.
I don't know if I've ever walked out of somebody's performance.
You've never been on a cruise.
Yeah, you've never been on a cruise then, because they're like, we paid our money. We're
going to do whatever we want, and I just don't want to watch this. I'm going to go eat my 6th buffet for the day.
That's what a lot of people do, yes. The buffet is very popular. The drink package is very popular. There's a casino on the boat, so
the
just like
casino is
Another gig that I shouldn't take.
Yeah.
I don't have a gambling, but let me just get this straight. I do not have a gambling problem. I just have a losing problem. Like I don't. Sometimes my luck doesn't work.
So yeah, to answer your question before, well, to finish your thought,
Well, no,
people that leave,
right?
I mean, I won't name cruise lines, but it happened on a particular cruise line where they have a particular demographic. It was an age thing.
It was an age thing.
People who would be on those cruises who've been doing it for a long time, and they've been on lots of cruises.
What do you mean doing cruising?
Cruising for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, they've seen, and they just get into a room and they hear the show and it's not their cup of tea, and they're just like, whatever. Younger audiences, and I'm not trying to be like an ageist, just younger audiences, I guess, just feel, I don't know, they go, well, I've got a lot of years left, so I can watch this bad performance, and then you have the other people going,
time's a ticking.
Time's ticking.
I could be dead tomorrow.
I got to get that buffet. Who knows? This could be my last meal. I'm just joking around, but no, I just find that maybe it was a demographic thing with the ages that they would just be like, I'm going to get up and go. It's not my cup of tea.
And would you say that that's a normal experience regardless of who the performer is?
It's worse for comedians than it is for musicians.
The worst. Look, comedian is the worst performing gig there is.
I have so much
respect for them.
Yeah.
Like once or twice back in my college days, I got up and did some improv at some clubs in the city and stuff just for fun. It's brutal, man.
I took an acting internship, and clowning class was one of the classes we had to take. And basically, the teacher was like, "Okay, go up there and make everyone laugh just on the spot." And it was the most horrifying thing I've ever experienced. So, and I don't know how they do it.
I understand that there was some scares around the COVID time about musicians and people getting stuck on ships and having thought they were on a boat for a 2-week run of guest entertainment with a show, and then, oh no, turns out you're going to be living here for a while.
That was me. Jeremy was lucky on that one. He was supposed to be on that ship, but he ended up booking something out in Arizona. We had just done a Buddy Holly tribute out there, and our producer out there wanted him to be in a 70s tribute show called Take It Easy. So he ended up staying behind and doing that. And I got my cousin to come on and do the show with us, and this poor guy had never been on a ship before in his life. And
I didn't know that.
First we missed the flight, so we should have known right there that we shouldn't have continued. We were in Miami and we were transferring because we were going all the way out to Chile, like South America.
Oh wow!
Like this is where we got stuck. And we should have known at that point we should just stay behind. So my family wasn't pleased that we were going to continue on. 3 days into it, they're like, okay, we're shutting down. We're going to send you home. And then I woke up that morning and they said,
you're on the ship at this point?
We're on the ship.
Like out in the ocean? Or are you like
out in the ocean, and I think it was Santiago, Chile, is where we were supposed to fly out of. And they weren't allowing anyone into the country. They decided that morning, basically. So we ended up having to take the ship all the way back to San Diego. So that was an extra 2 weeks on the ship that we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And we were the only guest entertainers on the ship. Everyone else was lucky and had left when we arrived. So there was us, and there was maybe a cast and a couple bands that were crew bands, but that was it. So we ended up doing a show every other night. We'd just create a new show for the people and try to keep spirits up and keep.
I was going to
keep
say, were
people
you like the
entertained.
violinist on the Titanic?
Basically, but we reveled in it because we knew that everyone else back home was stuck in their houses, not able to go anywhere. We were excited that we were at least able to continue to do what we loved and perform and make these people happy who are going through some crazy stuff.
Did you get any type of hazard pay, extra pay, overtime pay? And it was a time where people needed to pull together and do the right thing. I understand that. And you're a nice guy, so I get that you would want to keep spirits up. But also, you're like, well,
No, I did ask about some type of hazard pay or something like that. But no, there was nothing.
So they
like
weren't
that.
like,
But
could you please perform for us? And we're going to pay you some extra.
They were like, oh, your contract's over, so we're going to stop paying you. Like, oh, you're performing, we'll pay you the normal rate. But yeah, we just made the normal rate for the next 2 weeks, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you had to come up with a different show, so you weren't doing the same thing over and over again to get
Yeah,
people.
it's like, you saw our Buddy Holly show, now here's our 50s show, now here's our 60s show, here's our 70s show. We just went through the decades, kind of.
Do you have any ship stories that stick out as classic? You never saw this coming, never thought that was going to happen?
We dealt with a lot of rough seas.
Oh, yeah.
There was one where Jeremy had to pretty much crawl back to his room, and we would still have to perform no matter how rough the seas.
Were you ever worried, like, if you had some rough seas and it didn't sit well with you, like, oh my God, am I going to get through the set without throwing up in the middle of a performance or anything like that?
Yes, because we would be sitting backstage waiting to go on, and you would and the ship always had, most of the theaters, I believe, were always in the front of the ship. So you really, as the ship, if it was in the center, you wouldn't have felt it as much. But when that front goes down and comes back up, you feel it.
I give all the props in the world for like the dancers.
Oh,
and
my goodness, yeah.
They'd have gymnasts come on sometimes and do all this crazy stuff while the ship's moving. I had no idea how they.
Do you, if there's somebody listening who's a musician, a young aspiring musician, or an older one who wants to get into the world of entertainment on cruise ships, do you have any suggestions or recommendations?
There's specific agencies that hire out musicians for the cruise ships.
Go through the agency. You're not dealing directly with any of the cruise lines.
No, you never deal
It's
directly with any of the lines. We have an agent as well that books the band for the guest entertainment stuff as well. So
do you have to be in a group?
No,
Can you call an agency as a not so much as a solo performer, but as like, I'm a guitar. We're here at the music store, so I'm a guitarist, and so if a kid says, "Hey, I want to play guitar on a cruise ship," you have to say, well, find yourself a band first and then go?
No, you can get into the orchestra, or you can be a solo acoustic musician, but you'll probably have to put a big long video together of yourself doing like 10 or so songs and a bunch of different, like, you need to know a bunch of different styles to be one of those musicians.
I had auditioned years prior to us getting this particular, it was right after I met Todd in 2011 doing the Reno show. I came back and I worked at a theater doing pit orchestra work, and the bass player said, "Hey man, I've got this audition. I know they need a guitar player." And it was through an agency, like Todd mentioned, and basically I called them up. They emailed me a ton of music, and I auditioned over the phone. I put my phone on speaker, played through the music in my room, like it was like a bunch of Santana and then some swing stuff and whatever. And the guy, I actually wound up getting the job. So the capacity that we were doing it versus this capacity was, you were one of the people on the ship that were either A, you're going to play poolside a bunch, or B, be the show band, or be the dance band that performs almost every single night with very little time off. And the only reason why I didn't do it, I got the job, but the only reason why I didn't do it was they wanted a year-long commitment. They wanted a 6-month contract. Then I would come home, take a little bit of a break. I think it was 3 months in between, and then go back out for another. This was the offer that came my way, and I just couldn't commit to that much time. So if you wanted to be a guitar player or whatever music, trumpet, saxophone, you can just be like, okay, I want to work on a cruise ship. I want to see the world. You can audition as a solo person and then go and be part of the band.
It's really great for people right out of school.
Yeah.
I mean, being a musician is hard enough to have some normal life and family life. I can imagine this is that on steroids.
Yeah.
It was a great way to make money and and build a little nest egg because
Yeah,
you're not
you don't
buying
have any
food.
bills.
You're no bills. You're
Food's
living
covered.
on the ship.
You don't have rent to pay.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Okay, now we're going to do a quick response. I'm going to throw out some words, and I want, it's this sort of like, was it the Rorschach test? What's the one where you look at the ink blots?
blot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll call this the ink blot. Okay. Women.
Oh well, single Todd was never on a cruise ship. So, but
See, this is already a disaster because if there is a story, he's not going to tell me the story. So no, never hit on by an older lady. Never given a number
Not on
like
a
in a piece of
cruise
paper.
ship.
No. So no Love Boat episode stuff.
no Love Boat episodes. We would hear a lot of. Being in such close quarters, you would often hear the lovemaking going on in the room next door to you, which
Okay.
would often. There's no shame for the crew members. They will be as loud as possible. They're just all used to it.
Yeah, this is okay. All right, Jeremy, this one's for you. Booze.
It was dangerously cheap.
Okay.
Let's see. I think what what comes to mind is your bill at the end.
It's like, is this gonna be like a Blues Brothers scene from the Blues Brothers movie?
This is when you realize you got to make a change. There's not a whole lot to do on the cruise ship to some degree. So yeah, you make your own fun, and that was that happened with that. So that was
Food.
Oh, geez. You could just fill up on desserts every night. It's so hard to try to eat healthy.
Favorite port of call.
That's tough. I'd probably have to go top 3. Definitely Hawaii and French Polynesia were amazing. Alaska was super cool. Puerto Vallarta in Mexico.
Yeah, all right. Nice. Any advice to a cruiser, somebody, a guest on the ship, about etiquette with performer interactions?
Oh, we're actually encouraged to talk to the other passengers. I mean, it's certainly allowed. We encourage you to come up and share your stories with us and ask us questions.
I mean, they literally make a coffee talk. They make us 2 ships at 2 different occasions. Basically, had us with 4 microphones,
done
and we've had to
question and answer periods.
Q&As with the audience.
You do that kind of
Everyone
thing?
always asks us our ages, which that's the one thing that I feel like I don't get offended, but I feel like that's kind of an odd thing. It's a little bit of a personal thing to ask. Some people
Well, like in the
to keep
beginning of the
that.
interview, like, do you ever just be like, I'm 15?
Oh, I
think my mom's around here somewhere.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to find out more about your Buddy Holly tribute act, how can they find out more about you guys?
We've got a website, www.rave-ons.com.
Spell that out real quick.
RAVE-ONS. I've got my own personal website as well that has all my acoustic shows on it. That's toddmeredith.com. TODDMEREDITH.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure being the meat in between the J sandwich bread.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is Jason from The Music Store.
I am Jeremy.
And you can catch all of our episodes at FromTheMusicStore.com and on YouTube and all the podcast networks. You've been listening to us on WBNJ
91.9.
The show is pre-recorded, by the way. I think I'm legally supposed to tell you. All right, we'll see you next week.